All right, so let's look at user interface design, or UI, and UX design. So those are two different things. All right, and they're actually really intertwined. So our objective here is to develop course navigation tools to help students move through the course. And so the student in this case is the user, right? And as instructors, we're designing the interface, so what the students are seeing, and we're designing their experience in our course. And so here's a kind of color matters, so a little bit of color psychology from TikTok. But we get into what is the difference between UX and UI, user experience and user interface. All right, and this video, it's really short. It kind of gives you the difference between the two and kind of gives you an analogy to help you understand it. So I encourage you to watch it. But after that, I give you the key elements to look at when you're designing your course. So here we have visual hierarchy. And so hierarchy is like the flow of information. And so visually, if the student's looking at the page, they should be able to see what's most important, what comes next, and so forth. So are there headings? Are there titles? Are there subheadings, right? And do they have to scroll a whole lot to see the important things? Okay, and so think of that when you're looking at your course. Next, consistency and familiarity, right? If something's already been used, buttons, words, things like that, make sure you use them again. And so you want to be consistent, you want to use familiar buttons, familiar vocabulary. And if you're going to use something that's not normal, make sure you explain it. Next, we have anticipate user actions. And so if you're thinking a student is going to possibly click this, they might misunderstand me in this way, anticipate that, right? Give them an automatic feedback, redirect users, so that way they can stay on the right path or they can get the right knowledge. And then intuitive navigation. Now, as many of you noticed, this is an area I definitely struggle with, especially in this class, because I'm trying to provide you as many options as possible so that you can see the different options you have in your future class. But that's kind of to a fault, because then there's too many roads that you can go down to get to one place. So I wouldn't normally set up my course this way, and so the navigation in this course isn't ideal. But you should really be looking at, how can I direct the students? And so that next button should be clear, right? The modules should be clear in which the order that you want students to progress. User input, do you want them to type? Is it going to be multiple choice? Are they just going to have to read it? How are you going to have them interact with the page? You need to be thinking of these things. And whatever visuals you use should be connected to the words that the students are reading on the page. Color scheme. So color does matter, right? The warms, the cools, they actually mean different things. And so the cooler colors are to relax the student, kind of engage them a little bit, lower their threshold for anxiety, whereas the warmer colors are to excite them, to get them engaged in the work. Now, too many warm colors can overstimulate, right? And too many cool colors can become boring. So you have to kind of figure out the balance between that. And also take off the training wheels, right? At the beginning of the course, you're going to be explaining a lot of details, but as the course progresses, you're going to start to pull back on some of those details. So instead of having a video front and center for how to do something, you might have a link at the very bottom saying, remember, this is how you do this. Or if you need help, here's a link, instead of having the video at the very beginning, showing them step by step, right? That's taking off the training wheels. Test your design. So as you're designing a course, right, try it out, see if it works. And then iterative process. Okay, so you're going to make a course the first time, and then whatever you learn from that experience, you can take into the next course, whether it's the same grade level, the same content, another time in a different semester, or whether it's totally a different set of students, a different grade, but you're still going to learn from whatever you saw. So first, you want to start with the wireframe, right? Like the basic structure of what you're going to work with. And then your template for how it kind of looks, what's the kind of flow of it. Put it out there and see what you can improve each time. Okay, test it out on yourself, your friends, your colleagues. Every semester, try and get student feedback. So I'm asking you for feedback constantly, and I'm putting it in for the next iterative. So yeah, that means the next time I teach this course, they're going to get a little bit of an advantage, because they're going to learn from the mistakes I made with you guys. I'm sorry, but that's how teaching goes, right? We're all learning. As teachers, we're learning, and so I appreciate you going through this learning process with me. After that, this is the resources. So I give you articles. This will be updated as new things come up. And so here's the article at this time. And finally, the orientation module checklist. And so this is very important. So this checklist is what you're going to look at for your final project. So in your final project, right, you have that clear start button. Now, if you're using Google Class, all right, it's not going to have a start button, but it might have, what's that first line? That first line is where students' attention draws, right? And so what's going to be there? What are the essential components? And so is it clear, or at least in a video, do you explain what the key parts of the course are? Structure. So think of, is it weekly? Is it unit-based? Is it going to be fully online? Is it going to be synchronous? Is it going to be hybrid? Minimum technology, minimum equipment, if you're going to use any. What kind of communication expectations do you have? And think of this for students, instructors, and parents, if it's applicable. And academic integrity. So what do you expect in terms of like students sharing work, or where are you going to set the boundaries for sharing answers, right? And your introduction, of course, because you've already done that. Prerequisite knowledge. And now this is not going to be applicable for everybody, but let's say you're teaching German level 3, right? Then they should have taken German level 1 or 2, or at least done some kind of X exam to show that they can be at German level 3. So that's what I mean by prerequisite knowledge. If you're doing advanced auto mechanics, right, then they should have had beginning, intermediate maybe, or at least shown some experience. Finally, an introduction section. So how are students going to either introduce themselves to you, the instructor, or to the whole class? And are you going to require them to reply to each other? Now, this could be different. All I'm asking is that you have an introduction section, and then depending on your class, you can tailor it to your class's needs. Okay? So that's our UX UI design.